good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much for tuning in, whatever time you're watching this, to the second episode of Not Your Grandma's Advice. I am still just as excited as my first episode to be here, and hopefully a little less nervous. I think we have a good conversation ahead of us today, so hopefully you guys are just as tuned in as I am about talking to y'all about it, okay? So first things first, I have to give the biggest shout out to my support team, my friends, my girls, you know who you are, my parents, my man. Thank you guys so much for not only tuning in to my very first podcast, but sharing it with your friends and your family. I got a lot more views than I expected to for my very first release. So I just want to say that I will forever be eternally grateful for the support that you guys show me throughout my life. Also, a huge thank you to everyone who didn't even know me and just saw my podcast from someone else and tuned in anyway. I just want to say that I appreciate it so much, and I really hope you like the episode that I have in store for you guys today, okay? So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the theme, okay? So the theme for today's podcast is going to be taking your life off autopilot, all right? And that's just a little term that you're probably going to hear so much throughout this podcast because I think it's the best way to describe the way that I've been feeling lately, okay? So first, let me set the scene for you. I feel like a lot of my episodes are probably going to be inspired by me driving somewhere. And maybe that's just a testament to how much I don't like to drive, that I really don't be paying attention, or I'm like zoning out, daydreaming about other things while I drive. But today's episode was also inspired by a drive to work, okay? So I have a question. Do you guys ever find yourself driving somewhere that you've driven so many times before and you realize you're kind of checked out? You're not really paying attention. You're just going because you know where to go. Okay? So let me clear it up a little bit. I remember when I was in high school and high school. I know I'm so young. I told you I just turned 23 on Sunday. Woo! But a friend recently reminded me that was 5 years ago, and it just feels like life is moving so fast. But anyway, so I had a job in high school working at a mall, right? And sometimes we would leave, if I closed, we would leave around like midnight because that's the latest they could legally keep me because I was underage. And I had driven there so many times, even before I started working there, just because I'm a mall girly. If you know me, you know I love to shop, okay? So I had been taking that drive so many times. Since I first got a car, when I had turned 16, I had making that drive so many times. And it's the middle of the night. And I vividly remember leaving the parking lot. But then the next thing I remember is pulling into the driveway. Okay? And then I realized, I wasn't really paying attention, like, at all during that drive. And I really hope that I did not run a red light or a stop sign or was speeding or disobeyed any traffic laws. I guess I'm good because nobody pulled me over, but I really don't know what happened between point A and point B, right? And I realized I did that a lot, okay? I would just zone out while I was driving, especially if it was somewhere that I have driven so many times before. And I want to believe that somebody else out there relates to me in that aspect. And if you do, here's my next question. Do you ever do that in your personal life? Okay? So maybe I have a Fast and Furious vibe going on where I'm relating everything that happens to me in the car to my personal life, but I feel like it's true, right? So I find that sometimes I'm living my life on autopilot and I'm not very present in the moment, and it causes me to kind of forget things easily. My memories slip, and I feel more stress thinking about my responsibilities and the things that I have to get done, as opposed to thinking about the good things that happened during that day or during that time period, right? In case that's still a little unclear, let me explain a little bit further, okay? So I kind of started noticing it, at least like thinking back about it for this podcast episode. I started noticing myself kind of going on autopilot in undergrad, okay? So I was a busy gal. I was very busy. I was in 5 clubs and organizations. I was a full-time student, of course. I worked a job. I always kept at least 15 credit hours on my schedule, sometimes closer to 17, 18. So I was booked and busy, okay? And then I also still had a personal life, right? So I was fortunate enough to go to undergrad with people that I had known for such a long time. They knew who they are. Friends that I've had since like middle school and high school. Elementary. One of my homegirls from when I first moved to Chicago, we went to undergrad together. So I was very thankful to have people that I already knew, right? So I already knew like their birthdays. I already knew like their favorite things. I already knew like how to hang out with them, like how I had to act basically. And then I had my responsibilities, okay? I found that it was kind of hard to meet new people and make those relationships meaningful, okay? So I would meet people and I would immediately forget their name or immediately forget their face because I'm at an organization event, like I'm at my NAACP meeting. I'm thinking about the responsibilities I have as secretary. I'm not thinking about meeting new people and putting a face to a name and putting that in my long-term memory, right? I'm living off autopilot. I know I have this to do, and I didn't really have any space for anything else because I wasn't thinking about anything else. I didn't leave room in my brain for anything else, right? So I would make new friends, but it would be so hard to like build on those relationships, if you know what I mean, right? So I would meet somebody and we would really hit it off, but then I would forget their name. I would forget their face. There was this one girl, we really hit it off. I don't want to say her name because she might be watching and I don't want her to get offended because like, I really do rock with you, girl. I really do. But it just took me a really long time to remember your face. And I probably still wouldn't recognize her if I saw her walking down the streets of Houston, if we're being honest. But so there was this one girl. I don't even remember where we met, honestly. Truly, I don't remember where we met. But I remembered we really hit it off, right? And we started inviting each other to different events or different things that we were doing, different celebrations. Every single time she would see me like walking in the student center or like walking outside, wherever, if she saw me at an event, she would always come up and say hi to me. And I loved talking to her. Like, we always had good conversations, like I said, but I never spoke to her first. And it wasn't because I didn't want to speak to her. It was simply because I couldn't remember her face. Like, here I am. I got this girl's number. Like, we're texting, we're talking, we're kikiing, we're sending each other reels on Instagram. But every time we saw each other in public, it was because she came up to me. And I would have this split moment where she would call me, and then I would turn, and I'm looking around, looking for who called me, not realizing that the girl that I'm looking for is literally right in front of me. And it's embarrassing, to say the least, because I didn't want her to think that I didn't value our newfound friendship as much as she did, because I did. It's just I really didn't have any room for new information because I just wasn't present, honestly. And that may sound so crazy, and it may just be a trauma response, and nobody may be able to relate to me. But in undergrad, I had a really hard time meeting new people and then building on those relationships. I only have 2 friends, if you don't count my boyfriend. If you do count my boyfriend, 3. I have 3 friends that I made in undergrad that I actually remember things about them, right? My boyfriend, that's an easy one because we spend almost every waking moment together. Shout out to Bae. But that was easy because we spent so much time together. I was like forced to make time in my brain to remember things, right? And because I wanted to. Like, I liked this man. Well, I still like him. You know, it was easier to remember things, but even he'll tell it. Like, I still have a note full of his favorite things because I just forget. I just honestly forget things, so I have to write it down. And I write it down because I care. All my friends have little notes on their contact, and it talks about like their favorite food, what they're allergic to, their birthdays, their addresses, stuff like that. And then I have 2 other friends. We were just always in close proximity. If I wasn't seeing you every day, we had a hard time, okay? And I know a lot of my potential relationships probably suffered because of that. I probably could have left Mizzou with so many more friends if I had just taken the time to be present in the moment when I was meeting somebody and actually pay attention to what people were telling me and pay attention to the things I learned about people. But I didn't, right? And I just chalked it up to stress. Like, my memory was so piss poor that's the reason why I figured out what I wanted to study when I go to my doctoral program. I want to study memory because it's so fascinating how any event, anything happening in your life can change your memory, right? But we can talk about that another time. That's not the point of today's episode. I could talk all day about memory. But I found that, I thought that once I graduated and I was less stressed and I had less on my plate, that I would be more present and I would remember things easier. And it was like that for a while. I was relaxed. I was in TFA. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's Teach for America. This is not a plug. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. If you want to know, DM me, I guess. But I was in Teach for America. I still am. And I met some new friends. We hit it off, started talking to more people. And I realized, I don't have 3 assignments, 5 papers, and 2 events to attend. Like, what am I going to do with my time? I can hang out with my new friends, right? So getting to know each other and spending time with each other, doing something outside of a regular routine really helped me kind of like open my mind a little bit and be a little bit more present in my day-to-day life because I wasn't doing the same thing every day. I didn't have a repetitive day, you know? So, I don't know. It just felt freer. I remembered things easier. But then I started working. I'm a full-time teacher. And now I'm a full-time grad student. So the stress is definitely there. I will say that. I'm still in Teach for America. I'm also getting my teaching certification. And I'm in organizations again now. I'm a busy bee. You know, I couldn't just sit on my hands and not do anything with my adult life. Okay? Just because, I just couldn't do it. So, I got some things going on now. And I got some stress, but it's nowhere near the stress that I felt in undergrad. I will say that much. And I'm finding myself slipping back into that autopilot feeling, right? I wake up, I get dressed, I go to work, I teach, I come home, sometimes I eat, watch a show with Bae, I go to sleep. I'm doing the same thing for majority of my week, okay? Majority of my week, I'm doing the same thing. And I'm leaving little room for variety. And I started feeling myself taking that drive to work, zoning out, not paying attention, and in Houston, you can't afford to not pay attention, okay? Everybody on the road out here is actively trying to kill you. Like, they all have it out for you personally. That's how everyone out here drives. You can't afford to not pay attention, right? But also, even at work, I found myself coming in, doing my job, and leaving. I was not trying to make any new friends, even though I did make one solid friend. She be around all the time. and I love it. But I'm still struggling to make room for more than one. It's just, as far as like a deep friendship where you remember things about each other, you spend quality time together, I just don't do anything outside of my normal schedule. I go to my organizations, I hang out with the same people, and I do the same thing every single week. You know, sometimes we might switch it up and it might be somebody's birthday, it might be my birthday, it might be an anniversary, a holiday, something, but it's not enough of a variety for me to feel like I have to take like manual control of my everyday life, right? Because right after whatever that event may be, I go right back on autopilot, okay? And that's, I don't know, it's odd, right? So as I was driving, I decided that I was going to start actively taking my mind off autopilot, okay? So here is what I want you guys to do. First, I definitely want you guys to share in the comments below if you ever feel like you're living your life on autopilot, right? I also want you to tell me in what instances you feel like your life is on autopilot. Is it just when you're driving, like me? Is it in your personal life? Is it in your relationships? Like, where do you feel like you're on autopilot, if at all? You know? And if you're not, I love that for you. If you are fully present in every moment, I love that for you. Okay? So here's what I'm going to challenge myself to start doing. Once a month. Of course, I can only commit to once a month right now, but hopefully it would get more consistent and we can do like get down to twice a month and then once a week and then maybe like one thing a day, you know? But I want to do one thing once a month that forces me to take my mind off autopilot. I want to do something that forces me to be present in that moment, whether that's learning a new hobby, whether that's learning a new language, taking a class, whether that's catching up with an old friend that I haven't seen in a while, whether that's going and making a new friend, you know, whatever it may be, I want to do something that is out of the ordinary, out of my regular scheduled program. And I want to challenge you guys to do the same as well. If you're a person who doesn't live their life on autopilot and you feel things fully and wholly and you're just so perfect, I love that for you, okay? And you can tell us in the comments what you do to keep your life so present, what you do to keep yourself so hands-on in your own life, right? But if you're like me and you've started falling into your life being on autopilot and you feel like life is so mundane, we are going to do one thing within the next 2 weeks, okay? I know I said once a month, but I know people and I know myself and I know my girls at least, right? I know that if we say at least once a month, it'll get put off and put off and put off, right? If I say once a month, you guys are going to say, well, September's already almost over, so I'm just going to wait until next month, right? And then next month, if it's not a priority, you're going to figure it out all the way at the end of the month. And then by the end of the month, you're like, well, I'm so stressed about this. I'm just going to wait till next month. And you're going to keep doing that cycle over and over again until you're still living your life on autopilot months later because you never took the time to take yourself off and be present, right? So everybody that's watching this right now, we're making a commitment to each other, okay? In 2 weeks, we are all going to come back to this video and we are going to comment one thing that we did that took our mind off autopilot. One thing that we did that kept us in the present, okay? And if you are feeling uninspired or you're unsure what activity could make you feel in the present, I am going to be dropping a list of activities, a list of things that will take your mind off autopilot on my Instagram, okay? Now, if you don't follow me on Instagram, you're going to open your Instagram app, you're going to search up _ MANOKE _ on Instagram, all right? And it's going to be my most recent post. It's going to be a list of activities that take your mind off autopilot, all right? And in those 2 weeks, I want you guys to come back to this video and comment something that you did. You don't have to take a list of activity off that list. If you're feeling inspired and you got your own list, something that you've been wanting to do, it can be something as small as if you read every day, reading outside or reading in a different location. Or it could be something as big as taking that little vacay trip that you wanted to do and using some PTO, right? It could be anything, okay? And then the second thing that I want us to start doing is I want us to start living in the present and finding ways to pull ourselves off autopilot day to day, okay? So if you take the same route to work every day and you're finding yourself zoning out, zone back in, okay? Maybe count how many red cars you see, or count how many Nissans you see, or look at the sunrise. You know, I don't know what time you guys go to work, but by the time I'm going to work, the sun is just now rising. So I like looking at the sunrise. It's been helping keeping me present and paying attention to what's going on around me, right? And then maybe you make the same cup of coffee every day. Maybe try a different recipe or a different brand, you know, or drink it in a different cup. I don't know. But do something that's different than what you do every day. Try to find something to change in your day-to-day routine so that you don't feel like every day is exactly the same, right? Okay. I'm going to call it quits there because I feel like I have yapped your ears off enough for today, all right? So I'm going to steal a page from my school's book, and we're going to talk about our main takeaways from this video and what our call to action is, okay? So first, we're all of us, you and me, we're going to take an activity. We're going to do one thing in the next 2 weeks that makes us feel present, that takes our mind off autopilot. And then we're going to come back to this video and we're going to comment what we did. And I can't wait to read some of your comments on my very next video, okay? I'm going to talk about what I did too. I'm doing the work just like y'all, okay? And then our second call to action is I want you to start finding ways to be present in your day-to-day life, even if it's just something small for a brief moment. Find some way to be present, okay? So, like I said, you guys are going to follow me on Instagram if you don't already, but you should. You're going to search up _MANOKE_. Okay? And then if you want to comment it down under there as well, you can comment it under the Instagram video. You can comment it under this video wherever you're seeing it. Okay? Whether that be Spotify, whether that be YouTube, whatever. Okay? And then we're going to touch base back in a couple weeks. Okay? So until then, as always, I am proud of you. I love you. And I can't wait to keep doing the work with you. Until then, this has been episode 2 of Not Your Grandma's Advice. See you in a couple weeks. Bye.